ganda nung sinend mo pare yung bagong track ng Health featuring Chino. Chino ba yun? Of the
Chino Moreno.
Deftones.
Ngayon ko lang naisip na bagay pala yung na si Chino yung feature kasi medyo ganun pala yung vocal style ng nung singer nila.
Baka idol niya, no?
Baka drony na parang
Parang sabog.
Oh. Pero yun nga, parang napag-usapan natin kanina na hindi pa sila, parang matagal na rin nila ginagawa yan pero parang yung dating nila bago, diba?
Saan mo sila na-discover?
Na-discover ko sila na yun nga, nag-open sila sa Nine Inch Nails. Tapos usually, parang kung nag-open, parang pag may tour, tapos nag-open yung some band na parang di mo kilala, parang sino to? Tapos bakit sila kinuha, diba? Tapos parang medyo rin, at the time parang maraming mga electronic. Medyo yun yung time of electronic music, medyo nag-boom mga dubstep, gano'n. So,
Si Chino ba may electronic project? Parang meron eh, di ba?
yung Team Sleep yata, di ba?
Team Sleep. Sino kasama niya dyan?
Parang solo niya yata yun. I'm not sure. Pero parang mas siya, relaxed na, mas parang digital bath yung mga
Oo.
that.
Yung sounds.
Oo.
Kilala mo ba si Jay Ortega?
Hmm.
Sa Homes?
Tsaka I think Dirt dati.
Dirt, oo. Apartel.
Yan.
Anyway, may ni-remix na ako previously sa kanya. May pinadala siya a few weeks ago na bagong track nila with Dan Hill. Si Dan Hill is with the Chilities.
Okay.
He's a producer. I worked with him. Meron siya dating parang music for advertising na studio, Liquid Post. Tapos when the heads disbanded, wala akong job, obviously. Tapos wala pang gigs yung Sandwich, so I had to take a job. Si Dan took me in na ni-recommend ni one of our guests, ni Just Rai, si Ryan Armamento. So dinala niya ako sa Liquid Post. I learned a lot from Dan Hill, arranging, orchestration, yung ganun. Tapos they collaborated in this track, si Dan and Jay. Jay sent me the track. It's called Get With It. Tapos it's been sitting on my hard drive for the past few weeks kasi madami tayong ginagawa. Anyway, pinadalhan ako ni Pat and Bajao ng Dugdug Pack Dugdug Pack loops. So, pumili lang ako, parang nag-start ako, binuksan ko yung folder. Yung una ko narinig na on the same BPM range, parang eto pwede to, subukan ko kaya. Tapos sinalpa ko, tapos built the remix around it. Tapos sobra kong gusto yung remix ko. Minsan, di ba, minsan ganun, parang, uy, gustong gusto ko to. Anyway, gagawin ko kaya ng video. Tapos, kausap ko si Shinji, no? Haba ng kwento ko, no?
Okay lang.
Kasama ko si Shinji nung isang araw, nagkakape kami. Sabi ko, pare, gusto ko gawa ng music video yung ginawang ko remix. Tapos yung original song nila, ayoko naman na remix na yung tinutugtog yung instruments sa, parang sabi ko, hindi naman ako yung nag-drums dito eh. Malamang si Bajao to or si Pat, di ba? Bass lang naman yung totoong instrument na nilagay ko, lahat puro synths. Anyway, yung original video ni na Jay and Dan features a girl roller skating, sumasayaw. Yun lang yung video. So tinext ko yung kaibigan ko sa bike park. Sabi ko, may schedule ba dyan yung mga squad na nagro-roller skate? Sabi niya, meron ngayong hapon, pare. Sabi ko, sige, pakilala mo naman ako sa contact mo. Tapos pinakilala niya sa akin yung kausap niya, si Emon, sent me this girl, si Stephanie Ocampo. And I asked permission. Drive kami doon, sinama ko si Atari. We had like 2 GoPro cameras and shot them all day. So gumawa ko ng video, which I released today as we speak.
Nakita ko yun.
This is Tuesday. So yun yung mahabang kwento nung remix na may video. So I found this squad of roller skaters sa bike park where we ride din. Bina-block off nila yung there's a new resurgence of roller skates, yung 4 yung gulong. Sinend ko nga kay Jana. Happy birthday, Jana. Kaya sinend ko kahapon sa kanya. Yun ang mahabang kwento.
Astig. Actually, iba talaga yung nabibigay ng loops sa sa kanta. Parang napansin ko nga kasi ah, nabigyan na thankfully nabigyan din ako ng link nila Badjaw dun sa Dugdug Pack na packs. Tapos wala lang, parang kunyari medyo may project ka na medyo matagal mo nang hindi nabalikan. Tapos parang ba't kaya parang may off dito? Tapos pagpalitan mo lang ng drums, parang uy shit, parang gumanda siya.
Pag
So,
iniba yung, ano, no? Pag iniba mo yung rhythm
eh,
section, nag-iiba agad eh.
oo eh. Na parang as a drummer na weird, inisip ko na, I take it for granted na okay na rin basta may snare, may kick. Kasi nai-imagine ko yung sound eh. Pero iba yung talagang nandun na talaga siya. Wala lang.
Tapos yung track ni Nadan, gusto ko na kasi disco eh. Sabi ko, so all this time, anong gagawin ko dito, 'di ba? Usually yung Squid 9 remixes are more on the dance side. Sabi ko, anong gagawin ko? Disco na to, 'di ba? Parang hindi yata bagay gawing drum and bass or 'di ba, or big beat. So sakto dumating yung loops, tas yung una ko nasalpak halftime na ko. So doon napunta yung direction, napunta sa medyo dark and resurgence of skating. Marunong ka ba mag-roller skates or mag-inline
Dati
skates?
inline.
Inline. Naalala ko pare, yung airmat ko marunong mag-roller skates kasi may roller skates sa bahay nung 70s nung lumalaki ako. Tapos yung mga tito kong who were college students at the time, mga kapatid ng airpat ko, dumadating sila sa apartment naka-roller skates pare galing college. Astig, di ba? Pero parang nag-skip ng generation eh. Kasi nung lumalaki naman ako sa probinsya, BMX na tsaka...
Parang mahirap siya na mode of transportation. Kasi yung
Oo,
shoes eh.
pero hippies sila pare, long hair,
Oo.
nakasando, tapos naka...
Pero kaya yun sa labas, kunyari, sa pupunta somewhere. Kasi
Hindi ko alam.
skateboard medyo kaya eh, di ba? Kunyari,
Oo.
pag inline medyo mas mahirap. Parang more fitness thing, feeling ko.
Mhm.
Parang
Pare,
ganun.
isipin mo, 70s, so nag-jeep lang sila papasok ng school, di ba? Naka-roller skates, tapos meron silang lollipop. Tapos nakakatawa pag inisip ko ngayon kasi, syempre, mga tito ko na sila, di ba?
Oo.
Anyway, meron akong suot na shirt, pare. Ano ba nakasulat? Binili ko to kasi may benefit drive yung org nung anak ko, si Atari. The UP Mascom Broad Guild, yun yung org niya. Tapos, naglabas sila ng shirt, kaso tapos na yata eh. Kasi nasuot ko lang today. Naglabas sila ng shirt to help yung, paano ko ba sabihin? Yung proceeds pumunta sa UP jeepney drivers. Tama ba yan? Yan.
Kasi
Tapos siya yung
wala silang wala masyadong pasada ngayon, tama ba?
wala talaga kasi, 'di ba?
Walang
Mahina.
school.
Tsaka sinara yung oval eh.
Oo.
Nakasara pa ata ngayon yung oval. So, ito,
Bid ng cost yun.
bumili ako kasi siya yung nag-design. Tingnan mo yung likod, pare. Makikita mo. Kita
Yeah.
ba?
Ikot tsaka Toki eh, no? Oo.
Yan yung mapa ng UP.
Yung ikot and yung Toki.
Tapos naka-color code yung ruta.
Yeah.
Nung ikot, Toki. Dalawa lang ba? Kasi nung college ako 3 eh, may katipunan pa eh.
Pero yung sikat, yung ikot Toki.
Ikot, Toki. Nung pumasok nga ako, ikot lang eh.
Talaga?
Tapos mamaya, sa gitna nung term ko, may Toki na para
Ibig sabihin,
experiment.
or dumadami na yung traffic, ibig sabihin.
Oo, tapos nagka-SM pa pare. Meron ba nun nung college ka?
Wala
May
na.
SM North.
Talaga?
Oo, may SM North sa loob na UP. Aabang ka, kunwari sa dorm kayo, manunod kayong sine, di ba?
Maganda yun Parang,
SM North.
parang community mall sa loob.
Tapos may katipunan. May katipunan din na umiikot ng Ateneo. Pwede pang pumasok yung jeep sa Ateneo.
Yung time namin, wala na punta ka ng Ever, or punta ka ng mas ganun na.
Yung jeep?
Hindi, meaning ko pagka, di ba sa mo North Edge sa loob? Wala na parang kung gusto mo maglibang, pupunta ka na sa malayo na, or Katipunan, ganyan.
Katipunan, oo.
Wala. Maganda yan kung may mall sa loob. Baka wala na.
Hindi. Walang mall sa loob. May jeep.
Napapunta sa SM North.
Rekta sa SM North. As in
Akala ko
UPS. Yung
Okay.
ruta niya, UP Project 6 SM
Wala na ba
North.
yun ngayon? Baka meron pa rin.
Parang wala na eh. Di ba
Wala na.
parang
Masyadong ano.
lalabas ka ng Katipunan tapos magpa-Project 6 ka yata. Yun ang sakay.
Pero nag-iba na rin kasi yung ano eh. I think, I don't know, baka humina rin sila kasi given the population ng UP, nag-iiba rin, di ba?
Mm-mm.
Dati, walang masyadong nagkokotse. Ngayon, lahat
Mm-mm.
kotse na. Tsaka, the prices of cars are getting cheaper, di ba? So, magandang cause yan talaga for the drivers ng ano. Tsaka
Yep.
legendary job eh, di ba?
Mm-hmm. Congratulations to the UP Broad Guild. Ayun.
Saka yung ano, yung sa mga isaw rin, 'di ba? Sana
Mm-mm.
maano rin sila. Magkaroon rin sila ng mga negosyo. Ayun. Speaking of ano, sa college, yung next guest natin, pwede ka na ba siyang i-intro? Or
Yeah, of course, of course. Speaking of college and remixes.
Oo, kasi alam mo, yung next guest natin, first time ko siya napanood sa Malasimbo. As in, sobrang na-blown away ako. As in, sabi ko, may ganito palang klaseng artist.
Wait, nandun ako.
Yung Joss Stone, marami ng beses yata siya nagmalasimbo eh.
Marami siyang Malasimbo. Okay, okay.
Kasi nung una, parang medyo hindi pa, as in, hindi pa sobrang, I mean, hindi ko sabihin na sikat, na sobrang sikat. I can't say that, pero parang, he was starting out, di ba? Parang ganun. Tsaka to me, parang bag, relatively new. Tapos, sobrang as in, kasi nung time na yun, nakikinig na ako ng Flying Lotus, mga ganun. So parang, sabi ko, grabe yung set nito. As in, DJ, hindi ko alam kung DJ set, we can ask him later.
Okay.
Parang DJ set or live ba niya ginagawa. Kasi yung nangyari, parang sa sobrang natuwa yung mga tao, pinapag-go pa siya. Tapos parang sinabi niya parang, sorry, yung hard drive na dala ko, ito lang talaga yung laman eh. Parang, naubos na. Parang ganun. Parang sorry, ubos na. Kasi lahat ng tao, parang more, di ba? So parang, ang galing niya talaga. Tapos ever since then, from there, parang medyo, I tried to follow yung kung ano nangyayari sa kanya, ganun, up until ngayon na we have a chance to talk with him, diba? So, sobrang astig. So, ikaw, meron ka bang gustong
Ako same eh. Pinapanood para tayong secret fans kasi, 'di ba? Inaabangan natin.
only
Napapanood
fans?
ko siya sa Cubao X, sa Malasimbo napanood ko rin siya. Napapanood ko ano yung sa Black Market? Ano yung katabi?
2020?
Sa 2020, 'di ba? Pinapanood natin, nanonood tayo ng sets. Anyway, first sobrang hiwaga ng tao na 'to. Hindi natin alam yung ginagawa niya, pero fan tayo. So finally, makakausap natin siya ngayon. I-introduce mo na ang
Sige.
next guest.
This week, we are joined by a super producer and an electronic music educator, blending art, computer magic, and esoteric seamlessly. His influence on Filipino electronica cannot be denied. For episode 31, please welcome Jorge, Similarobjects.
Good morning.
Good
Musta?
morning. Ayos lang.
Ganda ng setup mo sa likod ah.
Thank you, thank you. I'm in my new studio. Sorry, I was worried nga kasi we were setting up a CCTV system today pero pinakancel ko para hindi mag-hassle dun sa... Wait, ba't black and white yun?
Ang galing nga eh.
Yeah.
How do you want to be addressed now? Kasi you tired Miller Ox name,
Jorge is fine, yeah.
Jorge. So, when you're releasing music now,
Actually, hindi ko pa naisip eh what to like call myself if I do release music. I've been writing though, pero hindi ko masyado iniisip yung what happens after. So far, I'm just trying to enjoy. So parang haven't thought that far yet actually.
okay, let's start sa medyo, we usually start from the start, pero ito, simulan natin from when you decided to let go of the Similar Objects name.
Sure. So yeah, it's like I think I've been struggling with the idea of music for a while. Parang na-stuck ako. But also it's like there's so many factors eh. It's like I felt like I was making music under similar objects to escape from things and my frustrations. Tapos eventually that sort of box, kinain ako ng sort of container. I felt like I was trying to like cater too much to an idea instead of just letting myself run free with the idea of being free just to make music. Parang I set limitations on myself because of that sort of container or name. So parang, in a way, I got frustrated kasi parang I kept trying to make music, but it kept on feeling like tinatrap ko sarili ko. So later on, it caused me a lot of stress because it's like everything I made sounded calculated. Na, you know the feeling before na when you started making music, the first time you ever picked up an instrument or the first time you ever wrote a song, parang nawala yung feeling na gano'n, yung wonder, yung excitement, yung amazement with like, you don't know what's next. Suddenly everything started to become contained, limited, and like, parang alam ko na, it's like I was doing all my same tricks. I mean, not a lot of people would realize that, pero ako personally, I felt like it was becoming stale na. So yun, eventually, I felt like also like, parang kinain lang ako ng idea nun. And it's like, what used to sort of be freeing for me became sort of what was trapping me. So yun, I felt like letting go of that idea, as well as like all of these expectations of people. Parang there's so many people that message me, they expect me to be this or that. And hindi naman masama yun. I feel like it's actually nice that people care. But I felt like there's so many attachments and associations to the name that people wanted, were throwing at me. And it just pressured me too much to feel like, shit, di ko na alam ano yung boses ko kasi there's so many voices telling me what to do, telling me who you're supposed to be or what you represent for them. I just got lost in it. And I started to like ask myself, parang wala, hindi ko na narinig ko ano yung gusto ko talaga. That's why I sort of put it down for a while. Actually, hindi ko na masyado iniisip yung similar objects. But lately, I've just been trying to like live my life and sort of get inspired day to day, deal with what's in front of me. Parang gusto ko bumalik doon yung sa childlike innocence or yung excitement when you first started like playing. I don't want to box myself as just an electronic musician. It's like if I want to pick up the guitar tomorrow or like study jazz or like, write a pop song, I'll do it. Kasi parang for a while, I was hiding behind so many things. Like yung hiding behind the idea na obscure ako. Because growing up, people always told me na, you're not a real musician. You just make music with pressing buttons and stuff. So parang, there was a lot of relearning and like reparenting music-wise for myself. And that's what I'm going through also now. Like even in my personal life, parang I'm trying to just like process ano yung nangyari sa akin growing up in my formative years. Ano nangyari sa akin also on a musical level sa musical formative years ko. What are the things na parang are just I have to undo or untangle. So that's my journey now.
Let's bounce back and forth.
Go
Tell
lang.
us about your journey. What were you listening to? What kind of music did you hear at home? How did you get into music? What was your first instrument? How did you get into electronic music?
Sige, I come from a family na hindi masyadong important yung music sa kanila. And it's like, my dad kasi is like, he's really business-minded. Like, he's like the founder of Potato Corner. I'm not sure if you know Potato Corner, favorite French fries. So he would, like, I grew up around that, na parang, my dad always wanted us to become business tycoons. But I always had a soft spot for music. I think it's coming from my mom's side. Na later on ko lang nalaman na parang big deal pala sa family, sa mom's side ko yung music. Like, there's a lot of composers there. Um, so yun, like, I grew up in that setting na parang music would only be something to do like in family reunions. Parang, the usual Filipino stuff. Pasayawan niyo, pakantahin niyo yung mga bata. Stuff like that. But I was always like drawn to music. My parents would always say na parang bata pala ako yung mga commercial music, ginagaya ko tapos kakantahin ko sa mga tao yung ano yun, Smoky Mountain ba yun, the Coconut Nut. Favorite ko daw yun. Lagi ko kinakanta sa mga guests sa bahay. Tapos yung mga Disney songs, I would go around singing it to people. Like naka-diaper lang ako just going around and singing Disney songs to people. So yun, for earlier on, I already felt like there was something about music that I was drawn to. But I guess yung when I started developing like active habits for music is when my dad was given an iPod by my mom. Kasi prior to that, ang relationship ko sa music is me and my kuya, we'd collect cassettes. Pag Sunday's out with the family, my mom would be like, what do you guys wanna do? Kami ni kuya, punta kami sa store, bili kami ng cassette. So almost every week, we'd have one cassette
What were you
each.
buying?
I would buy halo-halo eh. May mga Backstreet Boys, may mga Limp Bizkit, may mga hip-hop, may mga Bone Thugs. It's like really random. May mga Slipknot.
Is this in
So,
Manila?
Manila, oh.
What stores do you go
Yung
to?
store. May Odyssey. Tapos meron pa yung isa eh. Like, hindi ko na maalala yung mga ibang store. Pero halo-halo eh. Sometimes you go to Glorieta. ano yung Singlorieta? Yung parang may mga, you can test out pa the CDs.
Music One.
Music One, exactly. Tapos there was one later on when I was like a little bit older where may, yung mga nagbebenta, alam na talaga nila yung mga music. Like you get to bond with the people that are selling the CDs. Yun, like earlier on, it was really mixed. Like I was listening to like metal, pop, new wave, um, reggae, halo-halo eh. I think yung influence ng mom and dad ko was more of like smooth jazz, 105.1 type of music. Tapos my mom was also into like Fat Larry's band. Yung kuya ko naman, influence sa akin yung mga Deftones, mga new metal. Ako personally, yung mga hilig ko nun was like mga pop talaga, yung mga Backstreet Boys, R&B, ganon. Electronica hit me when I was in like early grade school, when in the coming of MTV and Mix. MTV introduced me to Aphex Twin, Deftones, Nine Inch Nails, Depeche Mode, ganon. So yun, I think I started getting into electronic because of that, like yung mga Aphex Twin era, mga Nine Inch Nails. Actually, Nine Inch Nails was such a big deal for me when I first saw yung concert nila dito. Wala talaga ako dun.
Grabe
Yun.
yun sa Araneta.
Yes, yes, that one. And
No,
people were standing on the chairs and stuff, yeah.
yes. I think they came only, that was like the last part of the tour before they disbanded for a while.
Oo
I
nga
think they
eh.
came kasi para to visit his wife's family.
Na
Totoo ba
Pinay rin, di
yun?
ba? Yeah, like I
Oo,
heard she's
kasi
Pinoy.
Pinay yung wife niya, di ba?
True. That's crazy. Yun.
What
I
was your
think that
first instrument?
my first instrument was actually piano. I wanted to learn violin, but my parents were like against it for some reason. So, actually yung piano din parang my parents weren't super anti-music, but they were like, maybe you should pick up something different, mag-martial arts ka or like basketball ka. Which gets naman, it's like you can't really blame them, that's what they know. But I was always drawn to music. So, and my parents would work in advertising. I grew up in an advertising environment. So when they would get me as like an actor or an extra and I'd get like konting TF, I'd be like, my mom would be like, what do you want to buy with that? Say ako, piano, yung mga umiilaw. And they're like, piano? Sige na nga, pera mo naman yan eh. So the first thing I ever bought was the light up piano na Casio. And it would teach you how to play songs. And I loved it because there's beats. You could already make beats on the piano thing, di ba? So yun yung first instrument ko. But I was always drawn to violin, which I never really got to play.
Ano yung first band mo? Kasi I read somewhere that you were in a punk band as well. You were a
Yeah.
vocalist, right? So ano yung mga first bands mo and
Shit.
what were you playing then?
High school, before getting into bands, I was really into writing. I'd write a lot of poetry. I'd play a lot of guitar. Like I self-taught guitar. Actually, didn't know for how many years. I had a guitar, a classical guitar, hidden in my closet that belonged to my tita that moved to the States. And I only found it nung naghuhukay ako. This was around high school na. So before even getting into the bands, like I was toying around with guitar and writing lang. I had like a rhyme book na I'd write raps and songs in. And then eventually, nung high school, nagkayayaan, yung mga music club ganun, to join bands. And di ako marunong mag-bass, pero nag-volunteer ako mag-bass. I was like, sali ako ng punk band na to. Tapos later on, like, my classmates wanted to form a band with me because they were like, oh, you're frontman material or something. I don't know why. Baka kasi makulit ako, mahilig ako magsulat. Tapos lagi ako nag-wear ng weird stuff. I wear like eyeliner and like, you know. So I fronted this band called Zero Divide, and it was like a post-hardcore emo punk band. We cover a lot of like mga kamikaze, mga Chico Say, ganon. But when we started writing our own songs, parang it started to sound a little bit like different. Parang yung I don't know what to call. I tried putting in electronics into it, pero di na type pa ng band ko. They were like, di bagay eh. So I was trying to like, borrow my mom's laptop, play electronic stuff, infuse it with the band. And they just thought it was weird. So I shelved that for a while. But I had so many attempts to fuse electronic and punk. And so that was my first band, Zero Divide. Eventually, I joined another band called Melatonin, which I met naman the people from college. It's like mga classmate ko sa MMA. Because I went to CSB for multimedia arts. And I met like mga South people, mga taga Zobel. And then, of course, they met me for mga Battle of the Bands and all of these gig stuff. And then they were like, oh, we need a synth player. And for me, I was like, wow, finally a band that actually wants me to play synth or add electronics. So that band was called Melatonin. It's like a play on melatonin. Yun. And I had like a lot of like weird or short stunts with different bands. I played piano for a reggae band called Wake Up Call, and then I had this like power pop band called Good Luck Laundry Boy. Uh, marami. It's like uh,
Yung Black Aircon Sober, what
Black
that one?
Black Aircon Sober naman was my first solo project as Similar Objects, and it was picked up by Pitchfork in like I think 2011, 2012. That was my first sort of like exploration into like what music would be like if no one was telling me na. Kasi when you're in a band, diba, it's kind of like you're in a relationship with all of the people in the band. And you have to respect everyone's expectations and like kung anong gusto nila. It's a compromise. And I love that also. It's its own thing. But when I started exploring alone, kasi parang all these years, people are telling you na your ideas are too weird, it can't happen, or you're being made fun of kasi iba yung naririnig mo. So I wanted to see like what would happen if I actually took those things that I heard and ran away with it. I pushed it. So yon, I created similar objects. Like after I went on a sorry, maingay ba? I went on a trip with my friends out of town. So we took mushrooms and then yung sorry, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
So yon, I took mushrooms and I started hearing stuff. Like I felt like shit, I wanted to like write these songs down. So when I came down, I tried to remember it and lahat ng naririnig ko, lahat ng experience ko, I tried to put it into sound and that became Black Aircon Sober. I
Mm.
remember during the shroom trip, I was texting myself. I was like, I should text all of these ideas to sober Jorge. So, tinetext ko sarili ko. It's like, basahin ko nila mamaya pag di na ako maamats. And then, all of those things that I read, they sort of felt like a score. It's like, okay, basahin mo to mamaya. It's gawin mo ng music. Itong mga tinext mo sa sarili mo. And one of those words was Black Aircon Sober. Kasi parang, I'm sure if you're going through a trip, there's ups and downs, di ba? There was a moment where I was like freaking out and tumabi ako sa aircon. And suddenly the aircon felt like it was like doing this mantra thing, like oh, like om siya. And that sort of became like the name, the Black Aircon Sober. So yun, a lot of the stuff that I was making, I wasn't thinking about theory. I wasn't thinking about rules. I wasn't even thinking about like, who's gonna listen to this? So I just shot it out into the internet, and then like maybe like a few days after, in-email ako ng Pitchfork that they wrote about it. And nung time na yun, it's like I don't know what Pitchfork is. Parang sinasabi lang sa akin I remember the first person who actually brought it to my attention was Fran from Ringmaster. And he was the one like, Jorge, this is such a big deal. Blah, blah. First Filipino on Pitchfork. And I was like, di ko
Mm.
get. I was like, I just wanted to make that music. And then Basta Fran was like, wear it on, like, that you should be proud of yourself. Blah, blah. And it's the first time I actually like heard it from my friends na parang, oh shit, give yourself a pat on the back. Because it's like, I have this huge parang chip on my shoulder about my music. Eh. Even up until now, na parang I feel like it's never enough, or it's like I don't know. It's like I have this thing where I feel like I'm whack kahit anong gawin ko.
What?
Yeah, dude. Like honestly, just
we are we are your biggest fans. I think the most awesome electronic show I've ever seen was your swan song, that
the
set.
last one. Yeah,
I was texting Darren. It was corny. I was crying. So
that's
this
crazy,
is so
right?
amazing. And that wasn't even I wasn't even there in that room. It
Mm.
was in front of an iPad, diba? And
Yeah.
a Bluetooth speaker. So I
Uh-oh.
go, this is so I don't know what you're thinking. Anyway, uh tell us balik-balik tayo ha.
Go
Tell
lang.
tell us about Manila Community Radio.
Okay, MCR. So, MCR was an effort that me and my friends, and actually a lot of the people that I've met from the scene lang, because this is like a long time coming. It's like whenever I tour and do shows in different countries, I always see people talking about community radios. And there was this one time where we were invited in Taiwan to either broadcast or partner with the Taiwan community radio for a show that I organized there. And it was interesting to see because it's like I see a lot of like community radios popping up in different places, Singapore, Hong Kong, and I felt like it was a strong movement. And I wanted the Philippines to sort of have this own thing where it's like, ang daming ganap kasi sa Philippines eh. And I feel like through the years, there's so many people who acknowledge each other. But when did we actually have our own platform na parang that can be we can dictate on our own what it's supposed to be, diba? So yun, sorry, they're gonna set up something. Anyways, like Manila Community Radio was sort of like version of a dream radio. Like I grew up listening to 105.1, 107.5, and all of these things. And yung excitement ko before from watching these like shows or listening to these shows when I was in high school, parang I never had that anymore growing up. Especially as we grow older, di ba, nag-mature, nag-evolve rin yung taste natin. I wanted sort of like a radio that could represent Manila. Also, I feel like Manila is also underrepresented community abroad, and I feel like within our community, there's a lot of voices that are underrepresented also that I feel like we should showcase. So I got together with a lot of people that I met throughout my journey, like people like different from different collectives and different groups, and try to band together and come up with this platform where we can call Manila Community Radio. And it's our effort then to sort of like make a type of radio programming that's more colorful than the usual. And I feel like challenge siya kasi it's like out of our own pockets, and right now we're just running it on out of a shoestring budget and out of donations. But I feel like what it's managed to create in the past year where it's been alive is, for me, it's inspiring. It's nice. It's for me, it's like my dream radio.
Where can people listen to it?
You can check it out on manilacommunityradio.live, and you can follow us on Instagram if you want to check it out. Also, we're open to people who want to pitch shows. It's not just for DJs. It's for all sorts of people. I think the best thing I've discovered because of it is like people that don't actually practice music that pitch shows. Tapos yung taste na sobrang wild. It's
Mm.
like sometimes it's like the directors or like fashion designers or like journalists. Tapos biglang when they pitch a show, it's like, whoa, I've never heard this type of music.
About yung Bonbon Collective and yung Club Matryoshka, can you speak more about that?
Sure, sure. So Bonbon is actually sort of my musical family when I started. Because when I started venturing into the scene, parang there was really already an electronic scene, but I felt like yung sa generation namin na parang medyo hybrid or the younger ones, um, there was never a family for me to call, my collective, my crew. So earlier on sa mga year 2008 or 2009, I started looking for people that I could talk to about electronic music, production. Kasi in my own peers, I felt so misunderstood. Kasi parang they were like, music should just be like, rock.
Hmm.
And so in my formative years in high school, ganun lagi. It's like people are always like telling me that that's not music. But I did feel like there were always people in Manila that were into that. And I would always find them on the internet, on MySpace, Multiply, ganun. So I've met a lot of people like Mark Redito, like he was one of the early Buwan guys. Idris also was early Buwan. But I think the staples were the ones that like who are still Buwan now, like sila like Animals, sila Lust Base. These are the people that I've grown to, love talaga as like we weren't friends before music. It's like music was what made us friends. Tapos even the younger generations now, it's like sa buwan-buwan kasi now, it's really democratic. It's like wala silang leader. I don't know why they always say I'm the leader what's it, by de facto law. No, ako yung naging leader. But what I love about it is like I've actually passed the torch now to the younger ones. So sila na yung nag-run ng buwan-buwan. But it's definitely like a community that we've built together to sort of like address that na parang feeling beat makers that feel alone or unwanted or wala silang peers. So we used to like hold gigs because there were no venues that would cater to the type of music that we wanted, na medyo visual. It's like there's electronic music, but we wanted to push to the forefront, like people not playing in bands, but people playing music on gear, on laptops and stuff. This was widely inspired by a lot of previous groups like Wasak, Electronica Manila, which also I've been frequenting when I was younger. A lot of the people that came before us really have been inspirational to me. It's like sila Caliph 8, sila Pasta Group, sila Tengal, and you guys as well, and sila Malik. All of these people, it's like, when I was young, kasi mahilig na ako pumunta sa gigs, pero wallflower ako. I'm super shy. So I'd go to the gigs, watch a show, then bounce. And I'd always like frequent mga blogs nila. So a lot of these things made me ask my question: what's something that I can create for the people that belong to the context that I'm in, like beat makers that grew up on like a different type of electronic music na. Like we grew a generation namin is lahat anak ni Flylo, anak ni Aphex Twin, gano'n. So there was that aspect. So we were bootstrapping gigs lang in art galleries. Like our first few gigs were called Bakunao. It was being done in Arts in the City. So whatever savings I'd have, I would like save money from school and then like iipon ako. Tapos mag-rent ako ng art space. Tapos mag-rent ako ng sound system. Because the art spaces didn't have good sound systems. And we'd book like 4 to 5 people. It started out as a gig na parang 10 to 20 people ang pupunta. Then later on, it got picked up by one day pumunta yung mga owners ng B-side and Black Market. Hindi pa bukas yung Black Market, pumunta na sila doon and they were nagulat ako, I got scared. They were scoping out our event. And they offered us a residency in Black Market before it opened. And I feel like that's sort of what evolved us also. Because coming from people that are making like medyo leaning on the art side, na medyo beats, down tempo, being in a club sort of informed our production also. Na parang start getting ready for people who want to dance. So yung music na ginagawa namin dati ambient, down tempo, hip hop. Suddenly we're making like upper tempos, body ready tempos for dancing and trying to infuse that with our DJ sets. I feel like nag-evolve kami because of that residency. Then after a while, we started to notice ang dami ng collectives being born with the same format, which is interesting because it saturated naman. So for a while, Bonbon sort of started to feel like, okay, maybe our time is done. Maybe we have to move on to other things, such as educating people. That's why we do those like workshops. I think Rayms attended some. So yun in line na yun with the school thing that I was starting before called Cosmic Sonic Arts. So
Mm.
yun, one was that. It was really trying to like cultivate the community.
How actually have a neighbor
Mm.
who's from Bonbon
Si
Collective.
Anton.
Yes, how do you join? If you were kunwari, if you're a beat maker or a producer, and how do you join that collective?
I get a lot of these questions. So sometimes people think na parang there's some sort of like membership form or fee or wala eh. It's like honestly it's like when they ask me how do we choose, it's like it's more of like we make friends eh. It's like you a lot of these people that I met them in shows. They just talk to me, and then one day we're are having coffee or like they're asking me, oh, kain tayo. We talk lang. It's more of a kinship. Eh. It's like there's no like formal application form or anything. Anton, I met him lang on SoundCloud, and we started becoming friends, talking, geeking about music. But we also, I personally look for the character. It's like I look for people that care about community also. Throughout the years, we've had so many people that wanted to join, and it's like halo-halo naman yung agendas, and it's like you can't really flame people for wanting to join something because they feel like it can further them. I think
Mm.
everyone has the right to like want to further and be successful. Pero I'm looking for a type of person that cares more for the people around them. And everyone, I can say that everyone in Bonbon now, lalo na the youngins, they have a strong sense of kinship and community. So I love their discourse. They're always talking about, oh, is this right? Is this morally correct? The youngins are such inspiring people to be around. So for me, I think I always tell them I try to look for mga what's that story where they pull out a sword from a rock? Trying to,
Excalibur.
Excalibur. I'm trying to look for people like that na parang meron silang pureness of heart.
Or
And
pwedeng lift yung shield ni Captain America.
ganon. I know it sounds cheesy, but that's how I look at it. It's like they always ask me, "Is this guy suitable for Bonbon?" And it's like I don't know. It's like I try to like measure them by like talking to them or hanging out with them or like just knowing how they think or picking their brains and halo-halo talaga yung personalities lang sa music. But I'm looking for those people that care and who aren't afraid to sort of be like to wear their heart on their sleeve.
Parang I
Tell,
guess yung good moral compass palaging importante talaga.
For me, it's really that. Yeah.
Sorry, Rames, may tatanungin ka.
oh, sorry. Tell us about the yung Cosmic Arts.
So
You
Cosmic
were
Sonic
starting
Arts,
to
yeah.
to tell us
To
about
segue
Cosmic
into that.
Arts. Yeah.
Yeah, Cosmic Sonic Arts is like my mentorship programs because I used to teach in Benilde. I stopped na for a while because of the time problems. It's like I didn't have time to juggle everything. But Cosmic Sonic Arts is sort of like my project into trying to demystify music for people or trying to like sort of share my approach. Parang yung meditative approach ko with music and like how I feel like music is beyond just trying to like hit the charts or beyond trying to just be entertaining. That there's something more to it. Like for me, because I always look at music as it's a self-discovery tool, and it's something it's very an introspective experience for me. I learn more about myself when I make music, and for some reason also when I hear other people's music, it tells me more about them. Parang I don't know, a lot of people say na parang, Jorge, parang ang lalim naman ng tingin mo sa music. But it's always been like that. I feel like I can learn about Rayms more if he sends me like what he's working on now, or you, Darren.
Yeah.
And I
Tama.
always feel that about people. It's like you're talking to me. With the music you make, you're talking, you're communicating. You're communicating something that people can't, really see. It's that's how I look at it. Eh. So for me, Cosmic Sonic Arts is my way to help people, one, discover themselves, understand themselves, and learn how to communicate what they're trying to say. So yun siya. And over the years,
I wish
we
that there was this school when I was in before I went to college. Where can people enroll or
Actually.
find a school?
you can check it out on cosmicsonicarts.com. So www.cosmicsonicarts.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram.
Are the classes online or do you have a physical right now?
Right now we're doing online lang because of COVID. So a lot of our classes are being held on Discord at the moment.
And
So yeah.
who else is teaching?
We have Justin de Guzman. Siya yung one of the, I don't like saying bestseller because it make it sound like KFC or something. But
Pabenta.
siya yung pinakamabenta at the moment. Right now, I've been holding off on classes kasi ako personally, I've been focusing on work. But we have Nick Lazaro also teaches classes there. We also had Russell from Fast Pitch, Russell Manaloto, before. We also have Lian Ordinario. Last Base was also teaching for a while, Andrew Florentino. Pero ang pinaka-active ngayon is Justin. And
What are the classes like? What are they teaching?
so ako, I teach say Ableton Sadhana. It's just like a sort of like a way for you to sort of transcend like the daily stresses, the daily mundane things. It's like a meditation of music meditation. But also it's a way to teach you creative flow and flow. Si Justin de Guzman, he likes to approach music from a boot camp perspective. He's very military style, but I think I've sat in some of his classes very very effective where you get students to sort of have that urgency of making music. Tapos it's very I mean Justin's a bodybuilder, so I guess he has that sort of discipline of like waking up, showing up and doing your drills. But also we both like to demystify music theory for people who are into like computers. So it's like instead of like thinking of scales in intervals, it's like patterns in MIDI in the piano roll, ganon. So also learning how to sort of like focus on the creative ideas instead of like worrying about setting up the project files. You know how sometimes you spend like 3 hours finding the right snare and right kick.
Mhm.
So parang how to sort of structure those things. Nick Lazaro naman, it's more of like a singer-songwriter approach and how to sort of like make it in like how to sort of manage your own music career beyond like just like making the songs. It's like what to do after, like how to sort of approach labels, how to sort of like get gigs for yourself and sort of like manage lang your expectations. Who else? Let me open the site.
Lost base.
See, Lost Base, he was doing his own approach with Reason. Like he uses Reason kasi to produce. So it's like how he makes his own music and how he approaches like yung mga scoring projects niya and mixing projects. We also had like synthesis classes with Andrew Florentino, who who's a award-winning scorer, film scorer siya. So what we do with Andrew is he'd bring his analog synths, tapos tuturuan niya yung mga students namin how to understand software synths from a perspective of analog, which is interesting because a lot of our students are like they want to learn how to make all of these complex patches that they hear in modern and contemporary music. Tapos you're being faced with how to make it on an analog machine. I feel like it's interesting. For me also when I sit and I'm like, shit, sana may ganitong class dati.
So, nagtuturo ka pa sa vinyl or hindi na?
Ako ay stop na.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have like this one class called Mystic Music Theory. It's like by this parang Elements alumni siya, si Alan Articulo. Like he likes to sort of like meron siyang different ways of teaching music theory to people that wanna demystify or like not be intimidated by it. I think his one of his approaches was using a card game. Meron siyang card game na ginawa na parang how to teach music theory. So yun.
What about Darren asked earlier yung I can't
Oh
even
shit, yeah.
pronounce
Club Matryoshka.
Matryoshka.
Matryoshka. Is that a
Pala.
the Russian
It's,
doll, right?
it's the Russian nesting
It's a
doll, yeah.
Russian doll. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yun, Club Matryoshka naman was one of my sort of responses to like my frustrations as a organizer of gigs in the Philippines. And I used to like I've been organizing gigs for roughly 10 years now. And like I said earlier, but there's a sort of saturation period of what you're doing when everyone's doing it also. And it's not a bad thing. I've learned to love everything that's happening in the scene and everything that's happening in Manila. But it's always like a way for me to ask myself, what's next? If your project's not working now, what's next? So during the time that I was in a creative rut as an organizer and as a musician, I looked towards video games because there's this long period where I stopped playing video games because it's like during college, high school, or post college even, I was so obsessed now with making music like every day. It's like there was that fire for making music, and then suddenly one day I woke up and it's like wala na akong nararamdaman. So I was like trying to find something that I was like, actually excited about. So I started getting into video games. So backstory, Bonbon, during Bonbon, the start of it, I've always wanted to do internet events, like inspired by events like SPF 420, which is like
Mhm.
SPF 420 is like parang webcam festival show that was happening way, way, way back, siguro mga 2014, 2013. And then they would just bootstrap like Tiny Chat. Tiny Chat is like parang Skype, pero it's like maraming, it's like webcam, it's a webcam party thing. And then they would just like, reroute with the virtual mixers yung mga gamit nila into the webcams. And that for me was so inspiring because it's like these are people that made weird music and they weren't getting regular bookings in wherever they were. And they created this online international community. So, and then that died down for a while. SPF 420 disappeared after 2014. So I was always inspired by that. And growing up, I was always into like these avatar chat things because my parents would always just leave me in front of the computer. Oh, yeah, Jorge, figure out Napster, figure out how to get music, figure out LimeWire. And then pag may problems na on technology stuff, like ako na lang yung figure out. So yun, I stumbled upon avatar chats or even Second Life, yung parang these virtual chat games. And sa mga events na yun, or sa mga games na yun, there's always like a rave aspect or rave component. So imagine me, I was young and I was like in this avatar chat called The Palace, and you play as GIFs. You can customize what you look like. If you want to look like Deftones or Mudvayne or Slipknot or like ACDC, you could. And I was young and I was joining these like online raves. And for me, it's like there's such a powerful experience. Yung time na yun, di pa naman ako nakapunta sa mga gig. So it's like for me, ang lakas ng impact sa akin ng, wow, I'm a kid, I'm on a computer, but I'm actually listening to like someone perform or someone curate a DJ set in this weird avatar chat thing. And then when it evolved to like even more advanced softwares like Second Life, where you're not just a GIF anymore, you're actually like this 3D
Avatar.
avatar and you can customize it. You can look however you want. And then the music started just getting better. May mga Eurobeat, may mga electronic na nangyayari. But yun, so those things have always been like weighing in the back of my mind na parang I want to do these events. Like especially nung earlier Bonbon days na parang one internet was always sort of like our route. Kasi parang every time we did something on the internet, it would attract people that actually understood us. So we tried we failed at some projects doing like streaming events like because on the Philippines internet wasn't that great. So whenever we try to do like these SPF 420 type events, parang the internet's too sucky or like so yun, we'd always have to scratch that. Plus doing an event in Second Life costs actual rent. It's like you have to pay like 15,000 pesos to rent like virtual land. It's like, di ba rent na lang ako ng club, di ba? 15K din yun. So I always like trying to look for different ideas. And
So
so
anong
yun,
platform? Anong game platform ng club?
we ended up choosing Minecraft because of its like accessibility. One, accessibility. Two, when I played Minecraft again after how many years, I fell in love with it. I was like, damn, before I was like, didn't I play this when I was like young? So parang I always looked at it that parang kids game siya. But when I started playing it again with some of my friends, na artists, musicians then, we all got hooked. And it's like, nag-open this idea na parang it's modular eh. It's open source. You can change the game in whatever way you want. You could even make it into its own different game na. So doon, all of my ideas in the past of wanting to make like a virtual club, parang it started out as a joke lang. Okay, nasunog yung bahay ko sa Minecraft. Tapos binuo ko ulit siya. The next day sabi ko, gawa ako ng website. Gumawa ako ng website, event page. Opened it nung Sunday to public and it flooded. The server flooded. And then we didn't even know how to perform that day. I was like, guys, I'm opening a club on Minecraft this Sunday. Tugtog kayo ah. So I booked like some of the musicians that I like na youngins. And then they were like, how do we perform? I was like, let's figure it out. Tapos yun, I started Googling how to like stream into Discord, how to like, you know,
Mm.
Is there
yun
a
na.
schedule of coming upcoming performances in the club in Minecraft?
Right now, actually, that we were doing it more regularly. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
after we did like the bigger and bigger events, because it's like that's when it started to get tiring. Because imagine mo, we'd be building a club for 4 months, and it's like after that it's like sawang-sawang na kami to see blocks and stuff. So right now we do it every now and then na lang.
Okay.
Because of the scale. But back then we would do like 3 or 4 performers lang, and we would do it like once a month. So it was monthly before. But right now we're in this transition period where we're trying to figure out on what to do next because people are always expecting bigger than the last, and that's a hard thing to also deal with because parang the last event that we did the festival, grabe yung scale eh. It's like if you're inside the world, it's like a city. You have to explore a whole city, and I can't believe we made that in like 4 months. So, having to figure out what's next for us, that's what we're doing now. So, parang our last event was we're trying to like scale it down. We did a launch for the buildings, which we really enjoyed. Yun fun yun. Like it was like
Yeah,
a
we had them sa last episode.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
you were with them. Yeah, I love them. Yun, right. So right now, if for people to want to get into Club Matryoshka, they can just check the Instagram. Doon yung pinaka-updates namin. Or they can join the Discord, which is also accessible sa Instagram.
Anyway,
Yun.
so how long actually sana makita nga ng mga tao kasi we're just talking about it kung kaano kaganda talaga yung nagawa niya sa Minecraft. As in amazing. Amazing talaga. Ibang
Thanks,
klase.
man.
I wish people, well, people can look it up online naman now and
Yeah.
look, right?
They can actually watch the past shows on Twitch. Naka-archive siya doon.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we never really knew like the gravity of what we were making because when we're making it, we're just having fun eh. Parang siyang, you just put a bunch of adults in a game and then we just geek out on it. And we only started realizing how good the builds were when people on Twitch were saying, wow, this is crazy. Talaga namin alam. We're just having fun.
So how long does it take exactly and gaano ka tagal mag-build ng world na ganun?
So we usually take mga 2 to 4 months to build a proper world. Like even the small ones to the big ones. Pero yung mga malalaki talaga na talagang they feel like a real festival. It's like it takes max 4 or 5 months.
Grabe. Yung,
Tapos we have a team now. Eh. It's like we divide it into like may mga devs na kami. Pero we're not experts
wow.
sa
So is it like do you get sponsors for it ngayon or is it like a legit show na
yung
you
mga
get paid or is it for
yung
free
mga
lang?
yung mga purely us na show, it's like it's funded by the community. So we have a Patreon system and people actually pay us monthly to keep
Wow.
Club Matryoshka alive. But
Wow.
when we have bigger events like yung mga collaborations namin with festivals, like we're kind of like not we close the doors a little bit to sponsors just because we want it to be like more community based. So even in terms of our collaborations, we try to look at the politics of trying to collaborate. Like with CTM, like they really try to push this whole agenda of like safer spaces, gender diversity, um, um, supporting marginalized people. So for us, they were their perfect fit. Not to mention yung strong ano nila with experimental music. So we really try to look at that. But sa sponsors, we try to be careful because some of our parang we just want to align with people who also align with our vision. Pero as of now, we're blessed enough to have people that actually pay us monthly to keep the lights on for the club.
Galing.
Tell us about your tools. I see like a rack of
Oh shit.
synths behind you. What are your favorite tools, or tell us about your journey with electronic music equipment?
Sige. Well, I started off talaga using my mom's laptop. Like I would always like pag tulog na si mom, hihiramin ko yung laptop niya. I actually bought Reason pa before. Yun yung una kong DAW. And then I would just like sneak out of my mom's room with the laptop and like a plastic M Audio 8 Oxygen 8. Yun yung first piece of gear ko. And then I started graduating to MPCs and like actual synthesizers like ano yung Korg Prodigy ba yun? Yung parang yung ribbon synth. That was one of my favorites before. So I used to really collect synths and then like later on I sold a bunch of them so I could afford a laptop. of my own because I felt like I was too old to be borrowing my mom's laptop for production. But yeah, like my favorites through the years, of course, SP404 had a big part in my life. Parang as a early electronic musician when I first got that, katabi ko talaga matulog siya. I'm not exaggerating. The first time I bought it, like I was just like, playing with it talaga. Out of the box, I read the manual, plug agad, play. Tapos katabi ko matulog kasi next day when I wake up, sample it, plug shit to the sample. I feel like the SP404, a lot of people call it the poor man's MPC. But I feel like it just ushered in this new age of like beat makers also. The ease of sequencing on it. And even if you're using it as a accompaniment to like your live set, lakas na niya eh. The quintessential set of effects and
Thanks.
all of the other tricks you can do with it. Some people use it like a looper also. So yun, that one for me was my favorite. It got to the point that even my girlfriend is in love with the SP404. Like I tried to sell my SP404. She was like, "Ako bibili niyan, tapos babalik ko sa bahay mo kung bibenta mo."
Yung
Like
OG or yung SX yung ginagamit mo?
I use the SX. I just find it funny that my girlfriend's like, "You can't live without the SP." It's like that's too important for you. It's like because she saw me sell my 202, my SP202 and my 303,
Wow.
and then she saw how sad I was. So when sabi niya kasi na-complete ako yung line like SP line. And then yeah, for a while I was really trying to complete the gear. But as time goes, I feel like you have to let go of some things to bring in. I now I have digitones and electrons, which are now my favorites. So I really like the digitone, yung sa electron. I really love the FM synth engine on it, and an analog for. Yeah, that's what I've been playing with now. But
So,
yung mga Korg Electribe din, ganun.
so what's your take on like plugins versus hardware?
I think they're both amazing. Like for me, I don't come from the camp that one's better than the other. Kasi parang dinaanan ko lahat eh. Like I also had to go through that pressure na parang before a lot of people were telling me you're not a real beat maker because you don't use an MPC. And dinaanan ko like I bought an MPC just to try that. Yung MPC 1K was my first MPC and I was like I like it. I dig it. I get the hype. But when I started getting like yung mga MPC 4K, I bought the MPC 4K of Red Eye.
I just saw my pre-MPC. Wait, I gotta show this to you. Nobody cares about this shit.
Sige,
Wait.
sige. Ganda ng kama na ni Rayms, ha?
Oo. Maganda nga yung mga electron ngayon. Ganda ng mga labas nila.
And then you can
Sobrang
save it.
bigat.
Yo! That's a classic one. Oh my God.
It still has a floppy.
Yo. Does it still work?
No, it died sadly during sabay yata sila ni Wolfman eh. So medyo poetic yung
Oh
pagka.
shit.
Because it's a floppy drive, so the floppy, stopped working before I'm sure the sampler still works. Ito lang siguro yung drive ayaw na mag-load eh.
Damn, that's an antique na.
But it's an antique with a crossfader.
Oo nga eh.
They didn't make it anymore with a crossfader, diba? When the MPC 2000 came out,
yeah.
wala nang crossfader eh. But I think they wanted it to be parang part of a DJ rig.
DJ rig, yeah. Galing,
Yeah,
galing.
si Daren is in may electron ka, Daren, right?
Oh, analog 4. Pero yung
you have the new one?
Yeah, yung just yung sequencer with the parang yung keys niya yung parang plastic, diba?
Oh shit.
Ngayon meron ng I think with the full-sized keyboard na.
Yeah, I saw that one. Wild.
I want the model cycles.
Oh shit. That shit is
calling
good.
me.
That's
thing
really
is calling
good.
me.
That's so good.
After the circuit, after I have the what do you call it? What's the Novation circuit?
Novation
Si
circuit.
si BP hit me to the Novation. Ako naman parang I want to sleep with this. Parang every day, to this day, every day I play with it beside my drum kit. It's like program a bass line, random bass line, and then put the headphones on and jam. Kasi diba, you can't jam with people because it's a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I have it right beside my drum kit, the circuit. But I wanna get the model cycles. It's
super
calling me.
good,
So
yeah.
pag natapos to, as soon as I get money, I'm gonna buy. That's the first thing I'm gonna buy. As soon as I
Nakalipid na. Pag naka-US na.
Si Daren has been jamming on the ano yung MPC mo?
Ako MPC live.
The
Oh
live,
shit,
yeah.
the new one.
It's nagets ko yung convenience eh. Kaya parang I get it, but at the same time naintindihan ko rin yung SP404 na it's not super exact, na hindi siya
Yeah.
quantized, but pag nagawa mo siya, yun na. Tapos,
Yung mga sloppy
iba
feel
rin
eh.
eh.
Yeah.
Oo.
Yeah, going back to the whole software versus analog, it's like yun nga, like dinaanan ko tayo yung mga NPC. It's like I feel like it's just kanya-kanya eh. It's like sometimes I felt like when I'd get the NPC 4K na, it's like I feel like, you know, the power of Dilla will compel me or something like that. Pero wala eh. It's like I really
Yes.
tried to get the NPC 4K and understand it. I told myself I'm gonna give myself 3 months. If not, I'm gonna sell it to someone who actually like fits yung formula nila. I felt like my brain moved faster than the MPC 4K. It's like I wanted something that could like match may pagka ADHD ako when I produce. Like when I'm on Ableton, it's like I like running around the studio. I like, you know, being able to put down your ideas agad. And I felt like some of the earlier gears couldn't match that. It's like my brain is moving too fast. And it's like the machine isn't. So for me, I want to be able to do that. So right now, what I do is like I don't really like discriminate like software, analog. I look at them all as tools lang equally. So yun, I just hook them all up to my Ableton and then
What do you
arrange
do in
them.
your studio now? In that studio?
So this is actually also my office. So it's like I do actually have a recording later. Nandiyan yung engineers. They're already like taking the takes and stuff. But yeah, I do a lot of like commercial work. I do film scores. I do jingles. I do sound design for films.
What do you call your company?
Kindred.
Okay. Before we let you go, give us 5. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank you for
And
inviting me.
finally, for getting. We've never talked this at length. This is the first time.
Yeah,
Kami ni
yeah.
Dan is like, we gotta get Jorge. Even before, after your show, it's like we were trying to get you, but you were busy
Busy. Yeah.
doing stuff. Anyway, give us 5 artists that you want people to discover na local. Because
Local.
kami ni Darren
Yeah.
would go to your shows to Buwan. It's like, hey, this is a good artist. Let's check her out or whatever, diba? Parang that's where we find it. But
Definitely.
since there are no shows, who do you recommend?
I strongly recommend Cavill. Cavill siya.
Are they all in Spotify or something?
Si Cavill nasa Spotify siya. He's
How do
also
you
on
spell that?
SoundCloud. That's Cavill. Parang Henry Cavill, but just the Cavill. And then also check out ahju. Siya yung parang head ng Buwan now, the younger generation. Also
How do you
check
spell
out
Sorry, a juicy?
ahju is AHJU $I.
Okay.
Alam ko na, nakita ko na yun.
He performs with the Guitar Hero guitar, tapos mga arcade buttons. Sobrang
Wow.
crazy. Meron din siyang controller na yung doll head na minanipulate niya. As in like, he's just feeling out this doll head. It makes crazy sounds. Yun, check that guy out. Super crazy. Who else? Jaime. It's at dot tapos Jaime. Ilan na yun? Tatlo na yun.
Tatlo.
And who else? On my list, shit, I'm not remember. On the top of my head, wait, can I cheat or check out my SoundCloud?
Yeah, of course.
Maraming magaling na bago eh.
Before you got in, we were talking about kami ni Darren. We were talking 9 Inch Nails and Health.
Oh my
and
God, Health.
How Darren we discovered Health because of 9 Inch Nails, and diba? Tapos they have a new single. Si Darren just sent me the new single with Chino Moreno.
Yeah.
Health
Oh
and
my
Chino
God.
Moreno.
May ganun? May
From Ryan Tyler, I think.
Oh shit, yeah, I remembered. From the young generation, you should really check out Teya Logos.
Teya Logos. Okay.
Teya Logos, oh my God, like blew my brains. And she's only 17.
Alam ko na, send us, after mentioning all these names, send us links of these 5 artists so we'll post it on this episode.
Sige.
Okay.
And then the last is Haute Couture.
Haute Couture. Okay.
Si Alice, isa pa yan, magaling din. Like, Teya Logos and Alice, for me, it's like, they're ushering in this new age of like, parang deconstructed music na talaga. It's
I'm excited right now. I'm so excited.
They make so crazy shit. Like, yung si Teya, yung budots na gagawa niyang parang gabber. And I'm like, wow. Grabe. Sige, I'll send you guys the link.
Sige. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We are excited to hear more of your future work.
Thank you for
Let's
inviting me, guys.
and
This was fun.
whatever that it's that you're doing, let's keep doing it. And if you
Sige.
need somebody to for whatever, call me and Darren.
Sure,
We're
sure,
big
sure.
fans. Thank you,
Thank you,
Jorge.
guys. Thank
You.
you.
See you
Have a
around.
good day. See you.
Stay
Bye.
safe. Bye.